Hello and welcome back to the roads of Elden Ring. Today we are going through the Forbidden Lands and the Mountaintops of the Giants. First of all, let's have a look at the map. We are starting right here at the Forbidden Lands side of Grace. How do we get here? We get here from, well, basically the back door of Leyndell, the east side of Leyndell, going over a bridge over here, going down an elevator, and then we are here. And oh boy, there's a big contrast here, right? From Leyndell, everything is golden, the plants are still alive, everything is fine, and now snow and dead trees. That's a big contrast, and it's very dark here. But it's not helping that it's night, and of course there is a lot of fog. And I think the first thing when I played through this area here, the first thing that I've noticed was the lack of music. We really have only this very ominous droning sound in the background. Let me see, where is it? There. I can turn down music, and if I turn up sound volume, it kind of sounds like there are still instruments in there, but it's not music, it's just the wind. A very ominous sounding droning noise. And well, it fits to this area, right? We have the Forbidden Lands. They're called the Forbidden Lands because, well, they are forbidden. Who would have thought? And, well, this area right here isn't really that big and that important, I think, at least for me. Well, it's called the Forbidden Lands, and if we ride through them, we can't really see that much. We need to be careful because there are some cliffs left and right where we can fall down, and it kind of feels like we're in a horror game right now. The only enemies we will encounter for now are these Volga militia that got, well, it's their task. They got paid to protect this area from every outsider, especially the Tarnished. And why that is, we will see soon enough. Well, we will see at the end of the video, I think. The only noteworthy thing about this area, I think, is this strange orangey glow that is hovering in the sky, because usually we don't have this. We have something similar when we are near a set of grace. We see the guidance of grace, but this one is different. This one is way different. I think the one theory that I can remember was that this is something similar to the guidance of grace, something like the guidance of the death rune. This might be true, this might not be true. I kind of like the idea. We also have a Knight's Cavalry here that is protecting this path. The Knight's Cavalry are agents of Morgoth. And Morgoth sent one here to protect this area if he fails. Right? And then if we continue, we will also see another mini-boss that protects the upcoming areas from any Tarnished trying to get through, which is a Valiant Gargoyle. And for the Valiant Gargoyle fight here, you can, if you continued her questline, you can summon, what's her name, Millicent here. And I'm not really sure if I remember correctly, but you might or might not also be able to summon Melina here. I might be wrong there, but Millicent, I'm 100% certain. Melania, I'm just like 50%, 25% certain. But here we have the Valiant Gargoyle, and we can see this one is black. Which means this one is touched by the Rune of Death. This one is utilizing the Rune of Death to power up his attacks. And now we are at the Grand Lift of Rold. Yeah, the Grand Lift of Rold. Which, compared to the Lift of Dectus, well, it looks similar, but it is way darker in here. And this one holds a secret, which we will talk about in the next Roads of Elden Ring episode, not in this one. But again, if we hoist the medallion here, and I will skip this cutscene, we will end up at the Mountaintops of the Giants. Let's see what we can see when we have a look back. Let's see if we can... what part of Leyndell we see. It's very hard to see the Forbidden Lands, almost impossible. At least with this thick of fog here. But this down there, we can see the silhouette of the tower we had to get down. We actually could go to this Divine Tower, or we can go back to Leyndell. And from here, I must say Leyndell kind of looks like Lordran to me. Let me know if you see the similarities. They definitely have the same big round wall type thing. They always like to do these in the Dark Souls series. And apparently here too. Oh, these are just ruins. I thought I saw a troll there. The back of a troll, but it was just ruin. And here we are now in the Mountaintops of the Giants, and all of a sudden the music starts playing again. And oh boy, this is an amazing area. Might not be my personal favorite areas, because usually I don't like snow areas in games, but this one, they nailed it, I must say. They nailed really this area. And let's talk a little bit about the area that I'm looking at right now, because this is the whole secret area, together with the Harlech tree, of course. And it might not be that difficult to discover this one, but it definitely took me a while at my first playthrough. And it is interesting, or it is a good decision, not interesting, it's a good decision that they are showing us this area this early on. Otherwise, the mystery would have been gone. What do I mean by that? We see this area now, and we're going through the Mountaintops of the Giants. We can see this area from many points here. We can see it from all of these cliffs here. But then we have to go in the other direction, in the east direction. So the east is clearly not leading to this area here, and we're always wondering, how do we get down there? And well, in Castle Sol lies the secret. And basically we just need to get to Castle Sol, and then we can also go to this area, but we also can then decide to keep going at the Mountaintops of the Giants. It's a good decision for them putting this area on the west side, not on the east side of the Mountaintops. Because now you always have in the back of your mind, or whatever, however you are saying this, you always see this area in your mind, and then you think, how do I get there? I'm going east now. I need to go west, right? Where's the entrance? And it stays a mystery for some time, and this is really good level design, I must say. Over here we have Shabriri, not Yura, and I'm not going to talk about him, because this has to wait for a different video. Now let's explore the Zamor ruins that we're entering right now, because these are telling us something very basic. And what is that? Well, there are people living here that are called the Zamor. And these are the Zamor, at least the soldiers of Zamor, the warriors. And this is not the first time we're encountering them. We found one in some dungeon, I guess. And there is one as a boss in a Eva jail in or on the Weeping Peninsula, in this one here, the Weeping Eva jail. And now we know where they come from. They come from the mountaintops of the giants. They are living here, or they were living here once. These are ruins, of course. They got destroyed, possibly by the shattering. And the ruins itself are not really something special. We have seen ruins before. And they also needed to do something with the snow area so that it doesn't look like any generic snow area. And they did this by putting these spectral trees and spectral enemies, spectral animals in this area. The wildlife here is mostly dead. They are ghosts, no longer alive, and so are many of the trees. At least that's what I think. That's how I interpret this. Because these are ruins, something had destroyed these ruins. They're not just destroying themselves, so something happened here. And then we can see these weird looking things here. And for me they kind of look like swords. Let's have a look at this one from a close-up. Why do I say they look like swords? Well, here we have the grip. Well, maybe because this has 3 features, maybe the time this one got stuck in the ground, it developed these branches as any natural tree is doing. Or maybe these aren't swords, but it's just a theory. They look like it. Here we have the crossguard, weird as fantasy crossguard, and the very weird looking blade. Could just be me, but they resemble swords for me. If they were wielded once by someone, I don't know. Maybe the giants, maybe not. Doesn't really matter. Because thorns in this game are a symbol for... what's it called? Not heretics, for sinners, right? Sin. If we have a look at the only 2 thorn sorceries, we can see they are called Briars of Sin and Briars of Punishment. So these thorns have to do with sin and punishment. So what could be their sin? Maybe they put their faith in the wrong god. Maybe they did something wrong and they got punished. Maybe both. Who knows? But these enemies here are all one faction. what do we call this faction? And even the prelate here, the fire prelate, is using a thorned whip. And the other variant with the hammer version has a thorned hammer. If we have a look at it, the hammer that is. It's called the Prelate Inferno Crozier. Maybe I'm pronouncing that correctly. But it also has a lot of sharp edges on it. Kind of resembling a very crude looking rose, maybe. Or at least petals of thorns. But let's continue. We see more of this faction here later on. If we now go over this strange looking bridge, it's more like a natural mountain that got impaled by these blocks. It's very unclear who built these things, like this bridge here. It's not like a conventional bridge, like it is like blocks, like Minecraft almost, where you place blocks in front of you to create a bridge. And if we have a look there, we can see a conveniently placed archer golem who will shoot at us once we're far enough on the bridge. Luckily we have some space to take cover from these arrows. Feels like a throwback to the Anno Londo gauntlet, so to speak, where you have to dodge two archers shooting at you while you're walking a very thin path. This one is far less dangerous than the Anno Londo variant, but it kind of reminds me of that. But this golem is conveniently placed. Now we are finally on the other side of the bridge, and here we can explore a little bit. There's not that much going on here, some items scattered around. No enemies inside, and it is here where we can also find Millicent once again. Somewhere, at least, here. I'm not really sure if she's standing next to the side of Grace or if she's down there. It's a bit too long, but it doesn't really matter. Let's continue our journey through the mountaintops, because here we have a frozen river. And we can decide which way we go. And ultimately it doesn't really matter. But for the sakes of this video I'm going to the left. Because, well, this is really the way you should be going if you want to complete a specific quest line. Here we can find demi-humans fighting some bats. Not right now, because technically my player character isn't here, but usually these two factions are fighting each other. And be careful. These bats are extremely strong. I think these are the highest scaled ones. They can take a lot of damage and they can dish out a lot of damage. Don't get swarmed by them. And here in front of the shack you can actually invade, what's his name? Juno Hoslo. Here you have a quest for the Volcano Manor. And usually you find over here at the shack of the Lofty, you find the Traveling Maiden's gear. So some maiden died here. This is the corpse of some maiden. And if we have a look at her corpse, we can see the corpse is burnt. You can still see the ember glowing in the corpse. So this one possibly got killed by the flame of the fell god, maybe? Maybe not. Who knows? Definitely got burned. There are a lot of fire enemies around, right? We've seen the fire prelates. The fire prelate over here, and we will see them soon enough. Here we have a pile of golems destroyed and piled together. It's a pile of golems. It's not just a battlefield with a lot of lost and destroyed golems. No, these have been put here, carried by someone. Because why would they stand all in the same position and just die there? Someone must have put them there. If we use the spirit spring, we can see a path leading to a merchant that we can buy some stuff at. And it's here where I don't know why they are selling this so late in the game. But here you can buy the starting armor for the... what's it called? It's a starting armor, basically. A very good starting armor, but fairly late into the game. You can also buy the missionary cookbook and some miscellaneous other stuff. But it feels kind of odd that they are placing these starting armor sets so far away from each other, at least so far away from the beginning. Almost feels random to me. Maybe it is random, maybe it's not, but it feels this way. Now let's keep going from here. If we have a look at the map, the path we've already traveled, we traveled from the Grand Lift of Rold over this bridge here. Underneath this bridge part, went left on the river, jumped up a spirit spring, and now we are near the Stargazer's ruins. And here we can see another faction that once lived here, the Stargazers, which are mages. Not necessarily mages from the... excuse me. Not necessarily mages from the academy, but mages nonetheless. They were studying the stars, gazing at the stars. If we now have a look at this area, we can see a talking jellyfish and a sealed cellar, which is a puzzle, not a very difficult puzzle. Everyone should have the spirit jellyfish ashes, so you want to summon the spirit jellyfish here and see what happens. Because if we have a look at the description, a floating spirit that illuminates its surroundings, prone to tears, the jellyfish girl searches for a distant home, will bravely spew poison at foes on her summoner's behalf. It seems her name is Aurelia. And here we can finally see what the jellyfish are. Because here are some graves that we can examine. And it says, here lie Aurelia and Aureliette, who never saw the stars. And if for some reason there's still someone that didn't piece these things together, come on, keep talking.
You promised me when we turn 14, we go to see the stars.
And this is something very sad here. It's a sad story of 2 children dying. But what has it to do with the whole story of Elden Ring? Possibly nothing. It is just a story. Why are they telling us this story, you might ask? Well, it is probably here to flesh out the overall story of the Lands Between. It doesn't always need to serve the purpose of the overarching main story. It's just a side story that is there to make the world feel more alive. At least that's what I think. And it is, I think, not that far off that we can think that these 2 girls were not necessarily mages, but maybe the children of mages. But let's continue, because here we will find a minor earth tree. And this one is kind of special, I must say. Well, not the earth tree, it's a dead earth tree, a dead minor earth tree. But it still has a guardian, which is a very special guardian for some reason. I don't know why this is special, but this one got a special move. Let me force its special move by hitting it a few times. Come on, let me hit you. Maybe that's enough. Come on. Yeah. I think this is the only guardian that can duplicate itself. These 2 share the same health bar. If I kill this one will die. If I kill this one, the other one will die as well. So if you hit both with one attack, they take double the damage. But it's very strange. That this seemingly random dead earth tree has a unique guardian. I think, what was it? Crimson bubble tea. Bubble tea, yeah. You're basically mixing bubble tea here. Crimson wall bubble tier. Converts damage received into HP in mixed physic. And this item description is so bad. Because it's not telling you the truth. Yes, it converts damage received into HP, but only elemental damage. Physical damage still goes through, you still take physical damage. When you take magical, holy, and what else is there? Where is it? Magic, fire, lightning, and holy damage, then it will heal you. But not the physical damage, so thanks for the misleading item description, I appreciate it. And now we're basically just going back to the mainland. We had a look at this small island, then this slightly larger island. And now we're back to the mainland, and this is a graveyard. And it's very easy to see, this is not only a graveyard, there is also death root sprouting here. And where's the site of grace? Right next to me, so let me use this opportunity to turn it back to nighttime. Because there is a night boss close. if we keep going in this direction, we will first encounter a Tiba Mariner. Strange that he's still using a boat, even though there is no water here, but these are spirits. This one doesn't need a boat. And he tries to call the big ass skeleton that is lasering with their eyes. That very strange enemy type, but because I'm not here, he's not summoning this one. And I don't know if this is a bug or if this is intentional or what's the cause for this, but even though even when the Tiba Mariner is dead, the big ass skeleton will appear. At least sometimes. I don't know if the skeleton is bound to this area or if it's really a bug, but the skeleton might still appear. And if we now go the path to Castle Sol at night, a deaf right bird will appear. And keep in mind, this is a deaf right bird, not a deaf bird. This one has wings, and the deaf bird has no wings. This one is the stronger version, the more dangerous version, so be careful fighting this one. Man, these are ugly. I really don't like fighting them. I'm not going down there to Castle Sol. We had a look at Castle Sol in the Castle Sol video. But I will shortly talk about all the different factions we encounter here and what they are tied to later on. So I'm also going to talk about Castle Sol and this graveyard over here. But not now, later. Once we've seen the whole map, basically. So let me just quickly go to the, what's it called? To the lake, right? I want to go to the lake. And even though it's night, I kind of don't mind the night right now. Usually I like playing this game during daytime. Well, not in real life daytime, but in-game daytime, because it just looks better, but there's not that much color in here that can be dulled by the night, so kind of like nighttime in this area and in Leonia. But here we have something that I'm not really a fan of. This is again one of these raised or these mage towers. Every mage tower has a riddle that you need to solve in order to gain access to the tower. And this one is possibly one of the worst riddles in this game. Not really a fan of it, but this is the solution. You have to walk on invisible ground. Granted, it's not that difficult. It's not as difficult as the one in what's the game? Dark Souls 1 in the Crystal Cave, where you have the Titanite slab, the blue Titanite slab. Because there you have to walk like in a zigzag. You just have to walk straight forward, and then there's a staircase leading to that seemingly destroyed balcony over there. But you don't really see where you have to go. Like the path is not clear, the snow is not stopping at this position. Sure, if you're actually go there, you can see these small, in this case, blue specks. I think in during the daytime it's a little bit more white, but over the sword you can see blue fog. And if I continue, you can see the blue fog is appearing. It's hard to see, but there it is. Again above the sword. So it's not really a fan. If you wanna do it safely, if you wanna go over there safely, and it's not really that difficult, the bridge is quite wide. But you can use rainbow stone arrows and rainbow stones. And they work the same as normal rainbow stones. These are just on an arrow. You can basically shoot yourself a path. These arrows are not really good for fighting, but they're really good to create a path here. But that's enough for this area. And they're not that expensive, so... Let's keep going, because I want to visit the lake. Because at the lake we will find some new dragon type. And, well, I guess it's the only dragon of that type. Because on here we have a frost dragon. And this one appears kind of cool. The reveal of this dragon is kind of cool. As you get closer to its spawn location, it's getting more and more foggy. At some point, this happens. The fog is getting really dense, a snowstorm comes, and at some point you will hear the dragon roaring. And then he is here. Nice ice dragon, or technically not a dragon. I mean, it's a dragon, but it's not called a dragon. Is this one called a wyvern? I think this one, these are wyverns, right? The ancient dragons are actual dragons, these are wyverns because the front legs are part of their wings. Or their wings are part of their front legs, something like this. Are these called wyverns? Any of the ones without any legs? I don't care. It's a dragon type. I don't care. No, it's not a dragon, who cares? The weird thing about this lake, I think, is that there are still trees in the lake itself. They're coming out of the lake. Which is kind of awkward. I kind of wish the whole lake would have been just a flat piece of ice. Would have been cool. And here we have some crustaceans. Don't get sniped by them, because these are snipers. And yes, this one is alive, you can see it bobbing up and down. And I think there's another one in the ground over here where I'm standing right now. Again, don't get sniped, don't get too close and run away. You either want to fight them or you don't want to aggro them. Otherwise they will shoot you with their water attack from 10 kilometers away. And that's not healthy. Over here we have the first Church of America, where you can again upgrade your flask with the sacred tear. And possibly also talk to Melina about stuff. And now we are getting back into Fire Monk territories soon enough. But we also have like T-Rex dogs coming up for some reason. I first thought these T-Rex dogs were part of the Scarlet Rod. But there is no Scarlet Rod here, so I guess these are just normal animals? Are they mutated? Or did they always exist like this? Because if they always existed like this, I don't want to live here. No, thank you. Then here we have the path to the Mage Tower, to the Heretic's Rise. Branded a heretic, this mage, just looking at the stars. And here we have a slightly important Everjail. In here we will find Vike. Vike of the Round Table Hold, I think he's called. It's technically the same Vike that invades you in the Frenzied Flame Village, but this one has no Frenzied Flame attacks. He's, in this state, not corrupted by the Frenzy Flame. Which is kind of interesting, because you might think that this version of Vike is even more corrupted because it's later in the game, but apparently time is convoluted. I don't know how this works. Like, he's in this Everjail, but he's also, his corrupted version is also invading us at the, at the Frenzied Flame Village. Time is convoluted. Was always the excuse in the Dark Souls series. And here we have the outpost of the Fire Monk faction. And there's the other version of the prelate, the one with the big ass hammer, also pounding at the chest. And if we have a look at the thingy on their tabard, dress, it looks like a dress on top of an armor. I don't know what it's called. But if you have a look at the crest there, it's a circle with flames above it, and this kind of reminds me of a key. It kind of looks like a key to me. Which is kind of strange, but we might be able to read something into that. First of all, the flame, it's similar where the fire monks up there. It's similar to the fire monk's armor, and they have the eye and the nose and the mouth, the cyclops face of the, what's it called? Fell God? Flame of the Fell God, I think. Yeah. They have the face of the Fell God on their armor set, basically acting like mini versions of the last giant. They also have the red beards, like red hair, and all like the fire giants, and so is the cloth version, or the cloth parts of the armor. They are also red or orange. And if we have a look at the fire on top of the prelate and compare it to quote-unquote the normal fire of these sinners, there's a difference. The fire of the prelates is slightly more red. It's not as orange as the quote-unquote normal fire. And there are also different torches that we have a look at. If we have a look at, I think, the beast repellent, at least I want to compare them, because I might be onto something here. Compared to a normal torch. Yeah, the normal torch has, well, the normal fire on it. Really bright here. But if we have a look at this torch, well, no, never mind. The beast repellent torch has slightly darker flames. with a little bit more black in it, but it's still not as red as the special flame of the fire prelates. And if we have a look at the building here, it's called the Guardian's Garrison, so I think it's fairly clear what they're doing here. They're guarding something. And we will also see soon enough what these things might be. And I say might because it's not really clear where these groves, thorny groves, are coming from. But the groves, thorns, are symbols of sin in this game. And if we go over this very unconventional bridge here, which is just a big ass chain, if we go over to the other side where all the giants died, and sorry for the rhyme, you can see these giants are impaled by these thorny structures. They're impaled on their back, and all over their bodies are these thorn growths, or briar growths, I don't know. Where's the difference between briar and thorns? Or is it the same thing? Is there a big difference? Can I use them can I use the one or the other one, or where's the difference? But let me keep calling them thorns because I don't know better. But who created these thorns? Are these automatically created when the giant dies? Are they getting impaled by these thorns? Or did they get impaled by these thorny swords over there from someone? Maybe from the people marking them as sinners or heretics? Is this their punishment, or what is it? Because to me this looks not really like a battlefield. I think this is supposed to be a battlefield. Here we can see different giant creatures fighting each other. But to me, because they all died in the same pose, it lets me believe that this might be an execution, almost. At least it feels like it. Or are these thorns growing outside of the dead giant bodies because this is apparently the fate of the fell flame, or the fell god, or the worshippers of the fell god? Does this happen to everyone worshipping the fell god, or is this something entirely different? Are they being marked? If we have a look at these snow trolls over here, we can't really see any thorns growing inside of them. Not really. But I think they're supposed to be the... what's it called? Not ancestors. The giants are ancestors of the trolls, and the trolls are the offspring, something like this. Not really sure. But then, what are the even bigger bodies here? What is this thing? This extremely giant being. What is this? We've seen these giants. Let's call them colossi. We have seen these colossal beings not only here, but also in Caelid, also in the Forbidden Lands. They are all over the place. What are they? Why are they dead? All different questions that the game is currently, at least I think, is currently not answering us. we also have, and I'm just quickly glancing over there, and yes, there are hands here, so be careful. Giant hands and even bigger hands. But yes, we also have a hero's grave here. If we go down there, jump over that small gap and then go in there, we'll find ourselves in the giant conquering hero's grave. Well, I think it's clear what happened here. The giants got conquered by the Golden Order. And we have a church here. And I think this one is the last church. Well, it is the last, not technically, but Church of Repose. I'm not really sure what repose means, so no insight from me here. But it is here where you are being invaded by Okina. Just an invasion, and if you kill Okina, you can gain access to a meta weapon. Luckily, it's so late into the game. Rivers of Blood. I think every PvP player hates this weapon by now. Was very overpowered, or very strong. Oh, overpowered. It was very powerful, and now it's just powerful. Luckily, it got nerfed. Not talking about this though. What else do we have here? Well, of course, we have, when we cross these chains here, we have the boss fight against the last fire giant over there. And after we've killed the giant, we gain access, and I'm trying not to die here, we gain access to the Forge of the Giants. And I kinda wonder, if we have a look at the Forge of the Giants, it looks more like a kettle. Like a very strange kettle. It's clearly, I think it's clear that the giants can't even reach that thing, at least not anymore. Because let's just imagine a being of that statue here walking across this small chain, well, small for them, and then they're doing what? It's called a forge. What is a forge? Let's teleport there. I hope this is not breaking the game, because I'm now technically behind the giant, but nope, I'm not. This is supposed to be a forge? Isn't a forge there to forge something? This looks more like a kiln or a kettle. Something to maintain a fire and not to forge something. Maybe it's a translation error, maybe this was once a forge, but isn't this even too big for the giants? Can I see the fire giant from here? I wonder. Right now he's not here. Maybe he's loading in later on. But if we have a look at these dead giants, isn't this still too big for them? Wouldn't this tower over them as well? Or maybe it's for the Colossi. Maybe not. Oh, there he is. How nice of him to appear. But I think we're through the whole landscape. So let's have a look at the map and see what we've seen. First of all, the Forbidden Lands over here. Forbidden Lands to Grand Lift of Rold. Forbidden Lands, and for a reason, they don't want the Tarnished. They don't want the Tarnished to get to the Forge of the Giants. So this one is forbidden. No one is no one is allowed here. And they try and keep that safe by employing Volga Militia, a Knight's Cavalry, and a Valiant Gargoyle. If you go up here, you can see the Zamor people were living here once. If you keep going in front of the bridge, we can see Fire Prelates, or the Fire Nation, protecting this area. Over the bridge, there are some golems active in this area, so be careful. Juno Foslo is taking refuge at the shack of the Lofty, I guess. We have the Stargazer's Ruin, where mages once were living. Then also the Heretical Rise, which is also a mage building. Then we have a big graveyard with a lot of living deaf people. So Deathroot is sprouting here. Castle Sol is protecting the other half of the secret medallion leading to the Harlech tree, but Castle Sol also has the... what's the name of the weapon? Something Shotel. Where is it? What is it called? The Eclipse Shotel. Also has to do with the living, the people living in death. Has connections to that. Because if you have a look at the Mausoleum Guardians, or whatever they are called, the Headless Enemies, or the Headless Aberrations, then they all have the eclipse on their tabard. Then we have a dragon in the Ice Lake, an Abbot Jail with a once very important person to the lore, but apparently all the content got cut. Or a lot of content got cut. Very sad. Then we got a very special minor Earth tree. Well, not very special minor Earth tree, but a unique approach to the Guardian, Earth tree Guardian fight there. We have the Guardian's Garrison, where what are they called? Fire monks are stationed to protect the Forge of the Giants from the Tarnished. Weird chain bridges, don't know how they built this one. And the battlefield where the giants fell. We also have the Church of Repose and the first Church of America, which means Leyndell was here. And of course Leyndell was here, America was here, because this is the battlefield where they butchered the giants, and only one is surviving, and we have to kill the fire giant because America said, "You are not dying, you're protecting this area now." Because they can't get rid of this thing. These cracks in the bowl, in the forge itself, might be attempts of getting rid of this thing. Maybe. Maybe it just withered away, but I think these were attempts of destroying that thing, and ultimately, well, it's still standing. It kind of looks like dragons attacked this area as well, because here these kind of look like claw marks. This also looks like a big claw. These not as much, but possibly not a dragon attack, but might have been the case. By the way, don't jump down there, you will die. I think everyone tried this the first time because we couldn't see the Site of Grace over there. But this is basically the Mountaintops of the Giants. In the next Roads of Elden Ring video, we will have a look at the consecrated snowfield and its secrets. Let me know what you think about the Mountaintops of the Giants. And that's it from me. Goodbye.